So hello everyone, in this video we'll be understanding how we can create drop down menu. So let's start that. Creating a drop down menu is very simple. You just have to select the li in which you want to have your drop down. So let's say I want to have my drop down in this. So I can specify here. Now in here I can create a div that I want in which all the links are there, in which you have your links href hash. In here I can specify, let's say, English. Similarly, I can copy paste the things or the links. Let's write maths here and science here. Now I have to give a drop down class or a parent class to this li in which I want the drop down. So I can give a drop down class here, and I want a drop down menu class in this div which is inside this li. Simple. Now this link is obviously not usable, so you can add hash here or anything else you want. But these are the links there which are possibly good when you want to jump towards another page which you want to show in the dropdown. But right now it will not have any effect, like just like the dropdown. So you can see it is not having any dropdown effect. It is just having the styling of this navigation because we have styled them by LIA. So the background color is there because of our previous styling which we did here. So for showing it like a drop down, we just need to add and style the drop down class. In here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add position relative because I want to start the drop down from below this here, from here, not from anywhere else. Also, I want it to have a display inline block if I want to have some margin padding vertically, so I can do that with this display inline block property. After that, I can style this drop down menu in which you just have to uh, give it a background color. If you want a different background color, so you can give that. Let's say I want a background color of, let's say, white. I want a back shadow or a box shadow. This is the shadow property that we can specify to have a background shadow. We'll be understanding about this later in the video. Then we can specify the color. Let's say I'm specifying the light gray color. I can specify let's say position. You have to specify a position absolute here because we want the drop down menu to start below this drop down class. So we have called drop down class here, and we want this drop down menu to start from the position where this drop down is. We can also give a z index to make it upwards. You can make it larger if you want, if you have other elements which are having the same z index, so you can increase that to 100 or anything else. I think that will be more, so I can leave it 1, let's say. And the other thing you can do is you can simply save this file, and also initially we don't want that, so initially the drop down should not be visible here, so initially it should not be there, but that we can do with the help of display none. So initially the drop down menu will not be there. Also, our drop down will not work or take any effect that we are going to add because of this position sticky. And why is that? Because this is created with the float left property. If you use display inline block here or display inline here, then that will be a good idea. So initially we created this navigation bar with this float property, so that's why we'll not be having the drop down effect, or we would have some problem in that. So that's why I'll be removing this position sticky, so that's we don't want. And then after that, you just have to write one statement for me, which is you can write drop down, or you can also write li dot drop down, which means the li tag in which this drop down class is. So it will target only that element or that li element which is having this drop down class. So let me just write simply drop down, and I'm adding a hover property here, or adding a hover pseudo class in which I'm telling that if somebody hovers over this drop down class, then you have to change, or initially it will be invisible, but when somebody hovers over this drop down menu, is on this drop down class, then you have to show the drop down menu. So we'll just be changing one property, which is display none to display block. You can change that here. So if I do this, okay, let me just do one more thing. Yeah, drop down menu, drop down menu, drop down, and the position absolute, z index, background color white, drop down menu, position relative. Let me just remove this relative as well. Now you can see it is having that, and I removed that position relative because it was causing the problem, so we removed it. Now you can see this drop down is working. You can also style it any way you want. For example, I want a different background color on the menu links. I want a background color of, let's say, background color of blue violet. So the links which are inside this drop down menu, basically these links will be having a drop down hover differently. Okay, maybe that's not working because I haven't added it important. So I can add important here because that is more important. Let me just add here important. You can see that it is having now, because the earlier code, there is something called the priority in this CSS, so that we can use. So this is actually the thing how we can create a drop down menu in our navigation bar. I hope you got something. Thank you for watching. Let's meet in the another one.